Awesome. That's fantastic. Give it up for them. That's incredible. Yeah, The Byrds. The Byrds.
The Byrds.
That was my favorite album of all time, The Byrds' Greatest Hits. They were the first ones, they were friends with Bob Dylan. And that's really kind of the fusion of folk and rock, and Dylan loved their sound. You know, David Crosby and the harmonies, and so he gave him kind of permission to do all of his amazing songs, and so it was the Byrds do Dylan, and so. But that wasn't a Dylan song, was it? That was the Byrds. That was the Byrds song. Yeah, yeah.
The bird is the bird.
Would you be willing to do that again?
I see.
The Byrds, the Byrds. Well, welcome to the gathering. This, I think, is the second largest crowd we've ever had. Now, what I used to say over at the University Church, I say, no, there's a lot coming to a bus. I just got a call. A bus broke down on the highway. They're on their way, but they'll be here late. I am on a mission to communicate how comfortable it is to be here and to have Robert Wallenberg, the guy who was the lead researcher at the end of the Harvard Happiness Study, 75-year study. I've talked about it before, right? Raise your hand if you can recall the gist of that. The Harvard Happiness Study. Yeah, started in 1938 with Harvard juniors and an equal amount of young people from Boston. And they studied them meticulously, gave them every test du jour, all of the insights, interviews over 75 years. It was the longest longitudinal study ever. And the results came out in 2003, and guess what? The key to happiness? Relationships. I could have told them that at the start of the study. No, that's arrogant. I didn't know that. But this is now, as an ocean of research, that engagement with other people is the key. Is anyone confused about that? So how do we get people to come out? We are having a huge mental health catastrophe in this country with suicides, depression, etc. My agents from Boston are just all over me saying, everyone is frantic, worried about the mental health. And even when someone doesn't go all the way down the rabbit hole of losing their life, they're not functioning. We're just not functioning with joy. Joy is gone. So how do we do it? And I've told you that Robert Brooks, the New York Times columnist who's been on this for years, he really argues that spiritual communities done well can create and mitigate an opportunity together. That's what we have here. We have that here. And so I'm going to start my podcast, I think in about 3 weeks. I already did an interview with Glenn Sparks, and I'm really into this idea. And so I'll keep you posted on that. And I really want to involve kind of the ethos of this, as this is a way we can do it. And I could just say in my own defense, because a lot of times people don't come to church because they've been hurt, they've been burned, they've been judged. Have I ever judged anyone, Sally? Oh no, privately, yes I have. Privately, but never in front of a microphone, never. Of course, I've vehemently and viciously judged hecklers in sociopathic hecklers in bars around the country. And I make no apologies for that. But I've not been heckled here yet.
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway, I'm going on and on too long, but stand up and greet somebody and give them a reason why you haven't brought 3 people here. Just
like that. Well, it's a journey. Journey, that's right.
the clock's ticking.
That's right.
Jump into our opening worship song here, so if you'll join us. I believe he sang to the blind. I believe that the dead came to life. I believe that in wonders and signs, you're still the same. I believe every word that you said. I believe there are stars in your hands. I believe you're not good without end. You'll never change. I will tell your wonders, sing
say now? Oh, it's announcement time, yeah. By the way, the little girl in the back, she blew me a kiss. I'm like, oh. I said, commercial, why don't we take photos of her and have her say, where are you? I want you to come. Let's try every trick in the book, right? Well, I said, because Alice blew me a kiss. So I said, why don't we have her in the commercial and say, where are you? We need you. I've been waiting every week. Oh yeah, talk about charisma. Well, okay. Wilhelm, how are things up north?
Pretty much like they are down south.
I said, aren't you in a different weather pattern in Monticello?
Not necessarily.
A bit.
Maybe, I don't know.
He's almost never been both places at the same time.
That's true. Really good. Okay, William, come on up, bud.
We're a little colder. Well, we're not cold.
Well, you're definitely not cold.
Thank you. February 5th, today's National Weatherman's Day. And it's 43. So much better. It's actually 56. But, pork rind day. Chocolate fondue day. And this one I probably shouldn't say. I just think it's hilarious, and I don't know why they would make this a national day. Dump your significant jerk day.
There needs to be a day for that.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, just before Valentine's Day.
Right before Valentine's Day. Oh, I thought that was hilarious. Bible studies Wednesday, February 8th. Mary Enos is home at 11:30. Bible study is, we're studying Book of Daniel, and we're having great discussions. I always say that, and we are. Nice lunch is served, so please join us if you'd like, 11:30. Health Hut is this coming Thursday, February 9th at First Baptist, and if you would like to contribute, you can put it in an envelope and put Health Hut in the basket, or any way you'd like. You can give money to Health Hut or bring items. I know that list is up there, I think, should be. There's no specific kinds of stuff, but if there's something that you have or you want to get rid of, fine.
There's also a list in the bucket out here. Help that.
Okay, yeah.
You want to take one home.
Yeah, if you want the list to take home. And you can bring it here and leave it here, and it will get worse to be. Tim is not here, but Tim would probably know the more specific stuff of what is maybe needed. Of course, any of that is always needed. If you do write a check on the memo, put Health Hut, so it'll be going in the right direction. If you would like to do help with Health Hut on Thursday, around 9 o'clock at First Baptist, takes about an hour and a half to get things in sacks and ready. And it's not long, 11:30, 12 o'clock usually. It's pretty well over. We want to thank the gathering crew as always. Music's great. Computer's great. Everything's great. We always need the cookie treat sign up. I'm not going to say October. Last week.
That's okay.
Well, I know. I think February's done pretty well. March, there's areas. Yeah. So if you'd like to bring some things in March, that would be great. Remember that Health Hut always would appreciate your weekly offerings. PayPal is great. QR is great. Basket is great. Everything's great. So, and the more money, it's even greater. So that would be wonderful. Sally's Morning and Dancing, I assume you had a really good one this Thursday.
Great group, and it was very, very cold.
Great. Well, because you're not. They come because Well, you're not. You're wonderful. And that's always at Bethany Church at 7 o'clock, the first Thursday of every month. Name tags, please return them. You'll never get another. No, you will. The word of my word of the week, it kind of goes with Dr. Will, because he's always talking about the rights, refrigerator rights. And I was thinking, you know, what is the definition of rights? We as having rights. And I watched, what was the movie you watched?
Inherit the Wind.
Inherit the Wind yesterday. How many's ever watched Inherit the Wind? Oh, you should watch it. Phenomenal. Talk about rights. It's mind-boggling. It really makes your, it's 1960. You know, it's a long time ago, but it's a wonderful, wonderful classic music.
Netflix?
Well, it was actually on just TV, but you can get it on probably Netflix or any of those. But it's wonderful, and it's about rights. And I always think of Will's saying, and I thought yesterday, you know, people think of my rights, not of your rights, and you can't do that. You can't have rights and take away rights from others. You've got to appreciate what their rights are. So the first quote I like is from Martin Luther King Jr. The time is right to do what is right. And there's no exception to that, they say. And the other is Susan B. Anthony. The true republic is men their rights and nothing more. Women their rights and nothing less.
All right.
Amen. That's it.
Bill, could I just make an announcement?
Well, sure.
Only because I read this morning and I thought of you immediately. Today is World Cancer Day.
Yes.
And I follow on social media, on Instagram, a couple kids who are dealing, one little girl named Natalie, who's like 3 or 4, who's dealing with childhood brain cancer, which is a huge thing. That's what my friend's daughter has not totally beaten, but she's doing well.
And what's her name?
Nora.
Nora. We prayed for Nora for a year
And
and a
this little
half.
girl is Natalie, and they're just, and then once you click on some, you know, like once you get involved with, the algorithms come up and you see more, and there are 400,000 children that, and I'm not sure if that's in a year or what, but have childhood brain cancer.
Thank you for that.
And you know something, I'm sorry, can I interrupt? We all on TV see from the big hospitals that do this, right? What are they? Riley and
St. Jude.
St. Jude. And you know, and what's affecting them is the power of the medical staff's positive, loving presence is part of what goes into that. So it's an argument for the spiritual power.
Ruthie has just brought to our attention that she wound up reading about and doing some research on how many children have cancer, little children. She has a granddaughter that is a cancer survivor, and we began praying for her when she was 2.
Well, she's not my granddaughter, she's one of my best friend's granddaughters.
Okay, her best friend's granddaughter. But then she's just one.
Age 2, and now she's in kindergarten.
Now she's in kindergarten, and that's the result that we want for everybody. All of those darling children. Linda, would you come up and make an announcement? Linda has an idea, and you can find out. We can discuss it after church if you want, or with the person you're sitting with.
Well, I talked to Will about this some time ago. The car club that Tom and I belong to does what we always call a soup social in the winter, usually February or March. And I thought, you know, that would be a really good idea for us to do. I wasn't prepared for this today, but
But you're so articulate, you can handle it.
we have a list, and people will sign up to make a soup in their crock pot It's not like you have to make 10 gallons, just whatever your crock pot holds. And write down your name and what kind of soup you would like to make. And then everyone else can bring something, whatever they think goes with soup or doesn't go with soup. You know, there's so many options, but anyway, think about that. And I'm thinking March, just because February is here already. But I will bring a sign-up sheet in a week or so. And so think about if you would like to make a soup and what kind. And then you can just sign your name and what kind of soup you would like to make. And we'll pick a date and we'll have a really good time.
So I'm doing a prayer. Hold on one second, Will. I'm doing, we're going to try and finish our prayer list edits today. And so just talk to each other and let Linda know if you would, yeah, I'll make a crock pot.
Well, I wanted to say that part of what we have here is we can use the big room up there.
Yeah.
We don't get charged for it. It's available to us any and every Sunday, so we're not using it hardly ever, but it's easy for us to kind of include that.
Let's have soup every Sunday. Oh, no, I didn't mean that. That was just a little joke. Okay, Dave, today is the last day we're going to pass around our prayer list. You can add a name, you can scratch out a name if people's need has changed. And so I'm going to hand this to you, Lynn. Take it from me and pass it all around. Here is the list as it stands right now. Obviously, today we want to pray for all those 400,000 children with cancer. It just, it just breaks your heart. And all those families, the parents that are aching with that. As you can see, David and Thea aren't here. They're in Puerto Rico. I just wanted to let you know, because she's in charge of communion and she obviously passed that job on to somebody because we're having it today. So let's take a deep breath. Think of the people that you would like us to pray for. And we're going to start our prayer today in silence. I love the reminder, O God, that you have given to us in your word to be still and know you are God. Forgive us for the times that we forget that. Thank you that the music that is ringing in our ears reminds us that you are always, always with us. No matter how dire the circumstances, no matter how far we feel we have moved away, that you are always with us. We thank you for those who are caring for the needy, for the sick, the heroes of our country through the last couple of years. And we thank you for their mission, for their work. We thank you for all of the people in this little gathering who are walking around their lives every day with the desire to reflect your love, to reflect your peace, to reflect your desire, as Jesus said in his last days, that we all be as one. All those people that are on our hearts, all those situations like Ukraine, all those needs that are so great across this country, we lift them up to you because we feel so incapable of making a difference. Thank you that you have given us this little corner of this world for us to function, to love, to be loved, to give, to share, to celebrate, to pray, to lift each other up through the hard times. How honored we are. And we offer ourselves anew in that endeavor as we pray the prayer that you gave your disciples. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Good job, Sal. Yeah, give her a hand. One of the most amazing revelations that I had in my long, torturous, ADHD-driven curiosity schooling was the notion that really came, I think, from Freud, that the brain stores everything. And in fact, the premise of psychoanalysis, and really all psychotherapy, is by creating a relationship with somebody and having them talk freely and safely with their experiences. It's amazing what comes out unexpectedly, something they didn't think of or hadn't thought of, and the good therapist, like Pat, teases that out and then makes connections to other parts of their life. It's sort of the essence of healing psychotherapy. It's amazing, it really is. One of the ways that I do it, as I've been doing for a couple of years, is morning pages. I really urge you to try something like this. It's a journaling. It's called, you can get it on Apple, an app. And you make a commitment to write X number of words, 200 to 300 words every day, and you do it every day. You'll believe what kind of comes out organically. What do we want? We want to be safe, and we want to be happy, and we want to be secure. And we know, because I'm a broken record on this, that the primary tool of doing that, is it navel-gazing looking in? Sure. Is it engagement in a therapeutic relationship with another person? You bet. But ultimately, it's about the connection to other people and relationships writ large. And that's the crisis America is having for a number of reasons. Glenn and I, the premise of Refrigerator Arts, which we are so excited to reignite, is based on a very simple sociological premise between moving away. We move away, and then when we land, we do a really good job of reconnecting, don't we? Do we ever find anyone who represents, we're with our significant other, good for you, you got that, that's good. But do we ever find a way to engage with other new people where we are, that who do you become? I kind of have conditioned myself to, I see somebody and I say, well, who would you be in my family? What would you be in my family? A brother, a cousin, whatever. And that's been lost. And so people are passionate to cling to safe communities. So this month we have been, as my usual thing, we pick one book and we go for it. Aren't you glad I didn't pick Job again? Remember that year? Oh God, he's only up to chapter 11. There's 40 chapters. So we're doing Ruth. And Ruth is the sweetest little soap opera drama set several centuries before Jesus was born, about a woman and about kindness and about aliens and about all manner of things, about embracing and making you feel safe. Let's see if I can do this artfully. So Naomi, a Jewish woman, and her husband, what is it? Elimelech. Yeah, I always think that's like Elimelech. No, it's not it. But she and Elimelech have 2 sons. And there's a famine in the land, and as was not uncommon, they had to go to another place where there was plenty of food. Remember Joseph and going to Egypt. And so they go to Moab, which is like a step closer to the promised land. And they had food there, and so they settle down. Well, while they're there, Elimelech dies. so she's a widow. And her 2 sons, it so happens, married local Moabite women. So the family's kind of reformed. The sons die. And you ring a bell with your own family and losses. So now here is Naomi, a widow, and with her 2 daughters-in-law. And she urges them, look, just stay here, although you 2 are widows, stay here and rebuild a life in your home country in Moab. But little Ruthie says, I'm going back with you to Bethlehem. Why? Well, that's a larger question. And there's the famous lines you've heard a million times in chapter 1, where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people. Where you die, I will die. It's a full-throated commitment that I am your daughter. I am with you. And Naomi goes, okay. So then she comes back. And then there's a few chapters about what's that like now for them. You know how evolved early societies were. I don't know how far we've come. It was not good to be a woman. It was not good to be a widow. Not good to be a child. You had no political status at all. And you have heard me share that the mercy of the day, the social security of the day for widows who were poor and had no property, they could go at the harvest time and glean. You know, glean is like the kind of the stuff that doesn't get picked up to be harvested. And the law was allow the widows and the poor people to have that so they won't starve. Are you okay with all this, me just repeating that? It's kind of an interesting thing. It was their way of having security so people didn't starve. So Naomi is out there, and her daughter Ruth are out there gleaning. Well, lo and behold, the field that she chooses to go to is by a guy named Boaz. Boaz. I told Sally, if we had an adopted child, I think I would have named him Boaz. Boaz. But not Miller. I think we would have gone with my Irish, Boaz O'Reilly. That's got a ring to it, doesn't it, Boaz O'Reilly? Well, Boaz is a person of great stature, a property owner, affluent, and of course Naomi is his kin. And so Naomi becomes aware that this young Ruth, who's been gleaning in his field, is part of his kin, and makes orders to the men out there, don't touch her, leave her alone, respect her, she's my family. And so she's under this protection, a man of power protecting a helpless, vulnerable woman. How often societies have been beaten down to depend on that, the good nature of some person. So little Ruthie is doing good. And all of a sudden, it comes to the place where we have to kind of make a long-term solution for this. And so this is David, my buddy, is going to come up and read chapter 4 of Ruth. How do we do this, Dave? Do you want to sit on this thing here? Okay. All right, let's bring this over here. Yeah. I'll do this so we can, so you can be near the microphone. Okay, good. Yeah. Okay, very good. All right. This is Ruth, chapter 4. And we're privileged with this iconic voice of the community. Thank you. I could listen to you read recipes. Maybe next week.
Classifieds.
Okay.
Somebody might pay me to do that.
We got no money.
Boaz went up to the town gate and sat down there. The family protector he had talked about came by. And then Boaz said, "Come over here, my friend. Sit down." So the man went over and sat down. Boaz brought 10 of the elders of the town together. He said, "Sit down here." So they did. Then he spoke to the family protector. He said, "Naomi has come back from Moab. She's selling the piece of land that belonged to our relative Elimelech. I thought I should bring the matter to your attention. I suggest that you buy the land while those who are sitting here and the elders of my people are looking on as witnesses. If you are willing to buy it back, do it. But if you aren't, tell me. Then I'll know no one has the right to buy it back except you. And I'm next in line. I'll buy it," he said. Then Boaz said, when you buy the land from Naomi and Ruth, who is from Moab, you must get married to Ruth. She's the dead man's widow. So you must take her as your wife. His name must stay with his property. When the family protector heard that, he said, well, then I can't buy the land. If I did, I might put my own property in danger. So you buy it. I can't do it. In earlier times in Israel, there was a certain practice. It was used when the family land was bought back and changed owners. The practice made the sale final. One person would take his sandal off and give it to the other. That was how people in Israel showed that a business matter had been settled. So the family protector said to Boaz, buy it yourself, and he took his sandal off. Then Boaz spoke to the elders and all of the people, and he said, today you are witnesses. You have seen that I have bought land from Naomi. I have bought all of the property that had belonged to Elimelech, Kilion, and Mahlon. I've also taken Ruth, who is from Moab, to become my wife. She is Mahlon's widow. I've decided to get married to her, so the dead man's name will stay with his property. Now his name won't disappear from his family line. It won't disappear from the town records. Today you are witnesses. Then the elders and all who were at the gate spoke. They said, we are witnesses. The woman is coming into your home. May the Lord make her be like Rachel and Leah. Together they built up the nation of Israel. May you be an important person in Ephrathah. May you be famous in Bethlehem. The Lord will give you children through this young woman. May your family be like the family of Perez. He was the son of Tamar, who was born by Judah. So Boaz got married to Ruth. She became his wife, and then he made love to her. The Lord blessed her so that she became pregnant, and she had a son. The women said to Naomi, we praise the Lord. Today he has provided a family protector for you. May the child become famous all over Israel. He will make your life new again. He'll take care of you when you are old. He's the son of your very own daughter-in-law. She loves you. She is better to you than 7 sons. Then Naomi put the child on her lap and took care of it. The women who were living there said, Naomi has a son. They named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse. Jesse was the father of David. Here is the family line of Perez. Perez was the father of Hezron. Hezron, the father of Ram the father of Amminadab. And Amminadab was the father of Nahshon. Nahshon was the father of Salmon. Salmon was the father of Boaz. And Boaz was the father of Obed. Obed, the father of Jesse. And Jesse was the father of David.
Thank you, my brother. Gracias. You can see, I mean, part of the punchline here is that the genealogy means that this whole story then trickles down genealogically to David, and Jesus is from the house of David, and so you can see the importance of like holding on to the lineage and the integrity of the lineage. And so Ruth is no outlier. Ruth's story is central to the whole salvation message genealogically. And so, hang on, I gotta open this. Can I do it? Talk amongst yourselves. Okay. Go back.
Grandpa Boaz.
What?
Grandpa Boaz.
Grandpa Boaz, exactly, yeah. Go back, go to a page. Go to page 1. Well, all right. I don't even know stinking thing. Okay, so, I guess got to do it from memory. Yes, I can. Have you ever read the Constitution of the United States?
All the way through.
Yeah. Think about this. This last chapter, where they're going through the references about the law and the traditions in Judaism and Israel, about how you treat widows and children and who belongs, who doesn't belong. And remember that back then, women had no status, and the law, let me start this way. Have you ever read Leviticus? Sit down, sit down and read Leviticus, and verse by verse, tell me how long into that book before you yourself would be killed, before you'd be rejected and would lose all your stature. I mean, it's unbelievably chilling, actually, if you do some small thing and all of a sudden you're kicked out of the... Among the curiosities with someone who died, a woman who died, the person who's next in line to marry her, to keep her intact in the community, is the brother of her dead husband. And how many brothers did you... You can imagine this literally would come up in discussion that, you know, okay, so you marry this person. Well, if he dies, how many brothers does he have? And you go down, and one after the other, it keeps the family intact with the brothers coming in. Well, if they have no one, you're then cut loose. And so think about the term domestic tranquility. That's what this is about. Okay? We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution. You can hear the echo of Leviticus, the echo of Judeo-Christian ideas about how we have a peaceable kingdom. The end of the story of Ruth was the establishment of a peaceable kingdom through the manipulations and the machinations that they had to follow. Thank God for the saintliness of Boaz and Naomi, who walked her through this. She had no part in this other than to just be a passive, vulnerable young woman, a widow herself, to try and find her security. It goes on to mean she's established in the lineage going all the way through the Abrahamic religion to the salvation of the world. But you realize the curiosity and how torturous this was for people to try and find ways to organize human communities in a way that keeps people safe. That's the whole idea of the United States theoretically. It was the whole idea of Israel to keep it intact theoretically. Were there holes in it? Again, look at Leviticus. See how little you had to do to lose your status, your safety, etc. And it was almost always the women who were on the most vulnerable edge of that and being thrown into the abyss of poverty. So is America better? Well, we have more systems in place, and we also have been cultivated to believe that we can stand up to an outrage that threatens that kind of mercurial vulnerability. Do we do a good job? Choose yourself how we do. But the whole intent of the United States organizationally is to protect ourselves and our rights, and our right to, what are our rights? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that means essentially, let's go trauma here, safety, that you can feel safe. How safe did Naomi and Ruth feel during some of these stories? And so Boaz, God bless him, was a saintly person who had heart and compassion. That's the echo of what we are to be truly faithful to our traditions. You have to have a heart to protect, protecting the vulnerable. And you can't protect the vulnerable if you're never around the vulnerable. Now, not everyone is called to step into the deeper waters. I know many of you do volunteer work, and you're very engaged in work that is working with people who really are on the verge of being cut loose. Anyone in health or mental health, etc. Any good first responder clinician has empathy. If they don't, they better get it. And empathy is, I'm feeling what you're feeling, and there, for the grace of God, go I. There is your vulnerability. I will step in and use the power that I may have to help keep you afloat. God's faithfulness to faith-filled communities means that through storms, etc., it will come out okay. I'm appreciative of my age and generation, that growing up, I was born in 1949, and so, earliest in my memory are sort of the traditions, not consciously, of what my grandfathers and great-grandfathers went through. I mean, and when you get your arms and your head around the Depression and losing everything, and then the cataclysm of war, and as I often said, I talked to my parents about this, I was at 41 to 45. You think we knew we were going to win in 42? You think we were okay in 43 or 40? No, Sparky. It was a dicey thing, and we thought we could have lost everything. It came about, and so we said, oh, praise God. God finally showed up. Hello. And life is like that for faith-filled communities, that somehow it will be okay. I remember in the 50s, of course, when there seemed to be, in general, a sense of joy that the war is over and now we're going to school. And I remember that one of the sea changes for women who had gone to work in the absence of the men who were at war, got jobs, and then when the men came home, they went, well, I kind of like this. Stayed in the workplace. Did you ever see that movie, the baseball movie? Help me out here. Well, you see, whenever I pause, spit it out. A League of Their Own, about the women's baseball league that happened in the absence of all the men leaving. And there was this iconic moment where the director of this very successful women's league, the women didn't want to stop playing. She goes, well, what do you want to do? You want to have the men go home and cook? And I mean, it was just ridiculous. But in any event, my mother was part of that. And then four of my sisters, came up, and my father was every bit as emphatic that my daughters would flourish toe-to-toe equally. He wasn't naive, he knew that there were challenges. Think of how we have changed in terms of our consciousness. Go to our African American history, where just at that time, soldiers, you could go out and go to war. You couldn't vote. You couldn't be part of the system. You were one of those verses in Leviticus where you were out. Have we come far? Come some ways. I can remember how amazing it was for our family to kind of embrace Martin Luther King Jr. It's like, what? His voice spoke over the top of all of us. He really was prophetic in that way. Where am I going with this? I'm going with this because systems roil and go up and down and stammer and go forward and 2 steps back, but we are called to go forward and to trust God that God will, in fact, find our Moab so we don't starve. Find our Boaz. Find the people who we need. And maybe that's you. It's your inner Boaz. Serving and loving. Anyone confused about the Jesus thing? Anyone foggy or fuzzy about what we're supposed to do? I can tell you this. If you don't sustain yourself with this, for example, you are out of gas. You got no energy. You have nothing to give. And I urge you to take seriously that the collection, the village life, the immersion in loving brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers, the whole refrigerator rights thing, it doesn't displace or completely eliminate the need you have as a human being for the intimacies of your spouse and your children. Hey, have at that. But I'm doing a wedding in Florida, March 4th. I got talked to, well, let's not go there. So I'm doing this wedding, and so I did a Zoom call. The couple were from Lafayette. She met him, she went to Purdue. She met him, he's from Oregon, so that's where they're living, in Oregon. And the family is in Nashville and having the wedding in Florida. You follow all that? So I did a Zoom call with them. They were a delightful young couple, super duper. And I told them, kind of gave them a forecast of what I'm going to say is, I said at every wedding, and I've done a lot of weddings, the way forward after the wedding is one person can't handle the whole load of you. I say that in my speech all the time. I've done a lot of counseling, and there were couples. I never met a couple who didn't say, well, it was great when we started, but, after a while I realized I had married Satan. One person can't fulfill that. If you don't got brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and a reconstituted family, guess what? You're putting so much pressure on that one person. They'll bend, they'll fold, they'll collapse. And so every therapist will tell you, so then they get out of that marriage, good sometimes for their safety, and they remarry, and then when you dive into that, you've done the same thing. You've done the same thing. Human beings are created, constructed, built together to be connected to each other in a variety of ways. It's village life. Keep this in mind, since we're talking history. You've heard me say this many times. The first several decades after the resurrection, this traumatized collection of believers who were in awe and stunned by what had happened, and believing because Jesus appeared, but scared to death because no one else believed them, had to meet cautiously and in safety and privately in that trauma. Guess where they met? In the houses of women. The women created a protective environment for them to come. And what do they talk about? You think they talk about theology? With their memories of Jesus and experiences? Yes. What was it about? Is that how do we go forward? Read all the letters of Paul and Timothy and others about how to be a community. It's the same shtick. Check your ego. Love each other. Be kind. The same format. That's why churches all across the world, we quote all of those iconic insights of these people, trying to come out from the rigidity of a Leviticus Jewish system, having been turned upside down by this nomadic heretic Jesus, feeling the full flush of the commitment, and essentially, this is how God creates us. This is how God meant it to be, for us to be a human being, not self. Remember the echo of Denial of Death with Ernest Becker? Denial of Death is that human beings notice that nature is full of death. Oops, we're part of nature. We're going to die. Homie, don't play that. Our impulse is to repress that. That's what we do. We repress it. You can't be going around thinking about your death all the time. As you get older, you do. I think about it every single day, don't you, Bill? Every other day? Okay, good. So we repress it. And anyone will tell you, when you repress something, it tends to be projected out into something else. And he contends it comes out in the power of self-esteem. Power. He said, which, by the way, causes more death. Narcissistic sense of self and power takes the people around you to very bad places. I was in psychoanalysis for 3 years in New York. It was such a cliche. It was like me and Woody Allen. It was like up there. And so Janet used to say, being alone takes you to very bad places. So I'm on a mission about this, and I think the church, done well, creates a safe environment for you to come and relax. I hope I inspire you and entertain you. Yeah, okay. But the most important stuff is us. The little peanut, beautiful peanut back there brings joy to us. That's where this is at. So you better invite people, or you're going to hurt her feelings. What guilt card can I play? So I'm all in on this. I adore you people. It's fantastic, and I know that we can just make this also safe for other people in your life who need it. It's a hard thing to get up and out on a Sunday morning and to be convinced, especially when you have this baggage of what happened to you the last time you went to church. It's up to you to evangelize and say, this feels different. Okay? So just do that and then report it to me. Okay. Karen was going to do the meditation, but I think they're on a cruise. Aren't they going on a cruise?
Karen has COVID.
They what? Oh, Karen has COVID, yeah. COVID has popped up again. Ruthie, Allison had, and I said, COVID's like a tulip, just keeps going up. Okay, well, all right, so let's just take a minute, meditate, calm your mind. What's that? Oh, yeah. Oh, should we do this first? We probably should do this first. Communion. No, let's just meditate and then we'll do communion. I'm still not organized, telling you. Let's wait to say the prayer of St. Francis because we're going to do something that is embedded in our Christian tradition. On the night before he died, knowing he was literally ending his life, and his petrified disciples and apostles were there with him at the table. And Jesus, think about the challenge he had, caught in the reductionism of his humanity, that he's trying to give them hope in how you go forward. And how you go forward, interestingly, the symbol he chose was eating together, was a meal. Nothing is more organically village life and family and that than this. So he chose this. On the night before he died, with his disciples there at the table, he took bread, broke it, and distributed it and said, "Take and eat this." Imagine how this was received. "For this is my body. Whenever you take this and eat it, I am in you. You know, you are what you eat. I am within you. I am in you." And in the same manner, when the meal was done, he took the cup, he blessed it, and he said, "Take and drink from this, for this is my blood. This is the blood of the new salvation. When you eat this bread and drink this wine, I am in you and I am of you." And it became the central way to remember. Think about you organically, completely disconnected from any religious context. When you're eating together in a joyous family meal, you're connected in a profound way. So come on up, and Sally, would you help me? We have two ways to do it. We can take one of these. This is so current.
Well, for health purposes, we have it self-contained, wine and bread. And if you would like to choose to do that, you can.
I mean, you take the top off. There's a bread component on the first layer, and then you can sip the cup.
Yeah, once you get to the bread, you have to open it up farther to get to the wine. So that's an option. And then we have the bread and the wine, and
That you
you're
can dip.
welcome to come up and dip your bread in the wine. And why don't we just start over there?
You're not going to come forward? I guess I'm going to come out. I'm going to distribute this.
They'll come up here, honey,
Oh, okay. Approach.
I guess.
Sally, and then people can.
Oh, yes, thank you. I wasn't prepared to be his assistant here.
we put up the prayer of St. Francis? This is such a good thing to repeat every Sunday and to memorize as a prayer for yourself each day. Francis, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine master, grant that I may have so much soul as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen. We got a song? Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. Any closing comments? Snide remarks? Anything? Nothing? Motion to adjourn.
I believe we should pack things up this week, but I don't know if they are changing their system or not. I haven't heard anything otherwise. You said we can't fit anything anyway?
No, so we're golden.
Do the same thing as last week and
We're
just
golden,
ask
yeah.
for forgiveness if we need
love
to.
that.
Okay.
If anyone knows of an empty church building, just give me a call.
Please sing along with us. Blessing and honor, glory and power be unto the Ancient of Days. From every nation, all of creation, bow before the Ancient of Days. Every tongue in heaven and earth shall declare your glory. Every knee shall bow at your throne. In worship you be exalted, O God, and your kingdom shall not pass away, O Ancient of Days. Blessing and honor, glory and power be unto the Ancient of Days. From every nation, all of creation, bow before the Ancient of Days. Every tongue in heaven and earth shall declare your glory. Every knee shall bow at your throne. In worship you will be exalted, O God, and your kingdom shall not pass away, O Ancient of Days. Your kingdom shall reign over all the earth, for the Ancient of Days. None can compare to your matchless worth. Sing unto the Ancient of Days. Every tongue in heaven and earth shall declare your glory. Every knee shall bow at your throne. In worship you will be exalted, O God, and your kingdom shall not pass away, O Ancient of Days.
Thank you all. And so this week, go through Leviticus, see how many verses you get in before you be condemned, and just send me a text. Bobby, yeah, I got to verse 11. That's good.